Today, we're diving into a story that touches millions of people across the globe, the immigrant's journey to Toronto. For countless dreamers around the world, this bustling Canadian metropolis represents opportunity, safety, and a chance at reinvention. Toronto shines as a city of diversity and promise, where more than half the residents are born outside of Canada. It is a place where different cultures coexist, where every language finds an echo, and where people believe they can begin again. Yet the reality of life in this city often proves far more complex than the dream. Toronto is welcoming, but it is also one of North America's most expensive cities, and the challenges that await newcomers are enormous. The question is, how do they endure? How do they navigate financial pressures, cultural shifts, and the loneliness of starting over? This is not simply a story about a city. It is a story about human endurance, about sacrifice, resilience, and the struggle to belong. The first impressions of Toronto are often overwhelming. When newcomers arrive, usually full of hope, they are met with the energy of a sprawling metropolis. Towering skyscrapers, diverse neighborhoods, and busy streets create a picture of endless possibility. At first, it feels like anything is achievable. Yet soon, the dream collides with reality. The cost of living shocks many families. Everything from housing to groceries seems to demand a bigger portion of income than expected. A modest one-bedroom apartment can cost upwards of $2,000, and in central Toronto, prices rise even higher. Even smaller studios, while more affordable, eat up most of a newcomer's monthly budget. Many immigrants, especially in the first year, find themselves squeezed into basements or sharing cramped apartments with several roommates just to make the rent manageable. Those who cannot afford the city core often move to suburbs like Scarborough, North York, or Mississauga, enduring long commutes just to save a few $100s a month. For families with children, this creates another challenge: balancing affordability with access to good schools, healthcare, and community safety. If the burden of high housing costs feels overwhelming, the struggle to secure meaningful employment in Toronto can be even more unforgiving. Many newcomers arrive in Canada carrying not only their luggage, but also the weight of years of education, professional expertise, and a lifetime of hard work. They are doctors who have dedicated themselves to saving lives in overcrowded hospitals, engineers who have designed bridges, buildings, and infrastructure back home, or teachers who have shaped generations of young minds. Back in their own countries, these individuals commanded respect, stability, and recognition for their contributions. But the moment they step into the Canadian job market, they find themselves facing a wall of obstacles, the most intimidating of which is the issue of credential recognition. Suddenly, the qualifications that once defined their identity and gave them pride seem to hold little value. The years of sacrifice spent in medical school, engineering programs, or teacher training become a shadow of the past. To gain the right to work in their chosen fields, they are asked to start again almost from scratch, by sitting for rigorous licensing exams, paying for expensive bridging programs, or spending countless hours in additional courses to meet Canadian standards. This process is not only long and complicated, but also financially draining, demanding thousands of dollars at a time when many are already struggling to pay rent and buy groceries. Until those credentials are recognized, most immigrants have no choice but to accept whatever jobs they can find, often far below their actual skill level. Highly trained doctors might spend nights driving taxis across the city. Experienced engineers may find themselves stacking shelves in supermarkets or lifting boxes in warehouses. Professors who once lectured in universities may now work behind cash registers or clean offices late into the night. These survival jobs are taken not because they lack ambition, but because their families depend on them. Bills must be paid, children must be fed, and the dream of stability cannot be postponed. The emotional toll of this transition is immense. Imagine devoting 10, 15, or even 20 years of your life to mastering a profession, only to arrive in a new country and be told, in effect, that it isn't enough. Imagine the frustration of hearing that your knowledge, your expertise, your blood and sweat are not fully recognized unless you prove yourself all over again. For many, this feels not only like a professional setback, but also a personal humiliation. It shakes their confidence, gnaws at their sense of identity, and leaves them questioning whether they made the right decision in leaving home. And yet, despite the weight of this challenge, many persevere. They take on these survival jobs with quiet dignity, using every spare hour to study for exams, attend night classes, or network with professionals in their field. They remind themselves constantly that these sacrifices are temporary, that every difficult shift and every sleepless night is an investment in a brighter future. This persistence, though exhausting, often becomes the very thing that defines their resilience. Because behind every immigrant stacking boxes, sweeping floors, or driving through icy roads at midnight, there is a story of someone who once stood tall in another land and who dreams of standing tall again in this new one. Equally frustrating is the elusive requirement of Canadian experience. Employers often insist that candidates need prior work history within Canada before being considered for a job. This catch-22 forces many to take unpaid internships, volunteer roles, or survival jobs to prove themselves. It can feel like a never-ending cycle. You need Canadian experience to get a job, but you need a job to gain Canadian experience. For highly qualified professionals, this can be deeply demoralizing, yet most persevere. Slowly through networking, persistence, and adaptation, many immigrants break through the barrier and rebuild their careers, though the journey is rarely quick or easy. Beyond work and money, immigrants face the quieter challenge of cultural adjustment. Toronto may be multicultural, but adapting to new social norms is not effortless. For many, language barriers present daily obstacles. Even those who studied English before arriving may struggle with idioms, accents, or the speed of everyday conversation. Ordering food, speaking to a landlord, or helping a child with homework can become daunting tasks. In professional settings, miscommunication can lead to lost opportunities, misunderstandings, or feelings of inadequacy. Over time, most improve, but those early struggles often create isolation. Culture itself brings another layer of adjustment. Canadian society values punctuality, politeness, and inclusivity in ways that may differ from other cultures. Workplace etiquette, expectations of teamwork, or even casual greetings can feel unfamiliar. Newcomers sometimes worry about unintentionally offending others or about not fitting in. The challenge is not just about learning new behaviors, but about reconciling them with one's own cultural identity. The result for many is a period of loneliness. Leaving behind friends and family means losing a social safety net, and building new friendships takes time. While Toronto is known for its diversity, it can also feel impersonal. People are often busy, polite but distant, and immigrants may struggle to establish deep connections. The emotional toll of these adjustments is heavy. Mental health challenges are common, though often unspoken. Many immigrants feel the weight of separation from loved ones back home. They miss family gatherings, traditions, and the comfort of familiarity. For those who arrive alone, the silence of an empty apartment in a foreign land can be unbearable. Some develop depression or anxiety, made worse by financial stress or the demands of multiple jobs. The harsh Canadian winters also amplify these struggles. Long, dark months with freezing temperatures can lead to seasonal affective disorder, further draining energy and motivation. Yet in the midst of these struggles, resilience shines. Immigrants find strength in their communities. Toronto's neighborhoods are filled with cultural hubs: Chinatown, Little Italy, Little India, Greektown, and many more, that provide a sense of belonging. Religious centers like mosques, churches, temples, and gurdwaras become more than places of worship. They become pillars of support. Nonprofit organizations and government programs also play a crucial role. They offer language classes, job search assistance, legal aid, and housing support, helping newcomers navigate the maze of Canadian systems. Community gatherings, cultural festivals, and social networks allow immigrants to reconnect with their heritage while slowly integrating into Canadian society. Families with children face unique challenges, but also unique rewards. Children often adapt quickly, learning English faster than their parents and embracing Canadian culture with ease. They become bridges for their families, translating letters from school, helping parents navigate digital platforms, and explaining cultural nuances. Parents, however, sometimes struggle with the shift in dynamics. The reversal of roles where children guide adults can feel unsettling. Yet it also creates a shared resilience as families grow together through the challenges. Over time, many parents witness their children excel academically, build strong friendships, and seize opportunities they themselves never had, making every sacrifice feel worthwhile. As time passes, immigrants begin to carve out stability. Careers are rebuilt, savings accumulate, and housing situations improve. The initial years of hardship gradually transform into stories of triumph. Toronto, despite its high costs and challenges, offers opportunities that reward persistence. Many immigrants go on to become successful professionals, entrepreneurs, or community leaders. They carry with them the lessons of sacrifice and resilience, often giving back to the community through mentorship, volunteering, or advocacy for new arrivals. What emerges from this journey is a unique dual identity. Immigrants in Toronto are both Canadian and something more. They carry the traditions, languages, and histories of their homelands while embracing the values and opportunities of their new country. Festivals like Caravana, Diwali, Lunar New Year, and Eid are celebrated with as much enthusiasm as Canada Day, reflecting the blend of cultures that defines the city. This duality, once a source of confusion or conflict, eventually becomes a source of pride. It allows people to say, with confidence, that they belong to two worlds at once. In the end, the immigrant story in Toronto is not one of despair, but of resilience. Yes, the financial strain is real, the job market is difficult, the winters are cold, and loneliness can be overwhelming. But so too are the opportunities, the safety, the education, and the possibility of building a future that would have been impossible elsewhere. For every challenge, there is a story of triumph. For every struggle, a story of persistence. Toronto, with all its complexities, becomes not just a city of survival, but a city of dreams fulfilled. So when we ask whether the dream of Toronto is worth the fight, the answer is clear. The sacrifices are immense, but for those who persevere, the rewards are greater still. Immigrants transform not only their own lives, but also the fabric of the city itself, making Toronto stronger, richer, and more vibrant with each passing generation.